Jim Morningstar, welcome to the Creativity for Wellbeing Summit. I am delighted to have this opportunity to speak with you.
This is so wonderful to be invited here because creativity to me is the substance that ignites my fire. And
Yay!
yes, I love it. I love it. I mean, I'm going to be 80 years old in a couple of months, and I'm still going strong because why would I stop doing what I love?
Exactly.
Why would I stop doing what I love? And creativity for me is that flame which keeps renewing. So it's not like, oh, we got a certain amount of energy and then we're done. It's like we can continue to renew ourselves. That's why I was just so delighted to be invited to speak here and play with you,
I,
Sarah.
I am excited about this opportunity to play with you too. So you have 50 plus years of psychology and integrated breath work. What first drew you into this breath work as a focus of healing and creativity?
Well, I went through all of the academic things to get a PhD in clinical psychology. And that lasted one day because after I got the degree, it was very evident to me I didn't want to be a talking head in a box for the rest, even though that's kind of what we're doing right now. But I didn't want to live that way. And so we got on the plane and went to Africa. I figured I needed 3 years of psychoanalysis or go to where the roots of civilization, to where, and we had friends there. And in the desert of Africa, there was a box that travelers would put books in, kind of like a free book exchange. And I picked up one and said, wow, there's a consciousness revolution going on in the United States. That's what I'm about. I want to be there. And so we came back and we got our fingers dirty in the soil, making gardens and all that. But we sought out consciousness raising venues. And
Hmm.
one of them was Tai Chi. And I love that but another that was in the psychological realm was Alexander Lowen's bioenergetics. I mean, his wife was a physical therapist. And so although he was a psychiatrist, he saw the importance of embodiment, of really getting changes happening cellularly in the body, not just mentally. And so bioenergetics, I got into that, did everything. And then our Tai Chi teacher talked about rebirthing, which was another embodiment technique, which then became a central piece because I could incorporate that with the bioenergetics into serving people as I was trained to do as a counselor and as a therapist. Now I had the whole package. And it's not that I do every technique with everyone. It's all, as counselor yourself, it's about listening to where people are at,
Hmm.
what they need. And every counselor and every client is breathing at the same time. So I became a student of just watching not only what they were telling me, but what their body was saying as they were breathing. And this wasn't to classify them but it was to listen more deeply to organically what maybe there were unconscious parts of them that were communicating or places that they were holding on, that they were stuck. And
So what
so,
things were you observing
yes,
as you're watching people?
absolutely. And then maybe we'd introduce a few little breathing techniques, and that again would give you even more information. I'm hoping we're going to get to play with some of that today.
Absolutely. Yes. We start out, we do Tangle with Sarah, which is my Zen Tangle membership program. And each time we sit down on Zoom Live, we start out with a stretch, which we did beforehand, and simply 3 breaths, count 3 in, count 6 out. Do that 3 times. And it never ceases to amaze me how that stops the tigers chasing us so that we can literally feel the release of tension from our bodies.
Sarah, you're talking my language. This, this is what I teach right here, especially you're doing 3-6, which innervates the parasympathetic nervous system. And this is what you want to do when you want to relax. And when if you were wanting to energize and, then you'd do 6-3, you would change the inhale and the exhale around. Yeah. So I love this stuff.
So
So
explain to me what's actually happening, because every person that's on the planet, everybody that's watching this, we're all breathing. And for the most part, it's an totally involuntary. It just happens and we don't pay any attention to it.
right.
But what is the value of paying attention to your breathing?
Well,
What's it actually doing in the body?
now, I'll go to the extreme here. They say that watching a person do one inhale and one exhale tells you about their life. It's like, what? Well, that's a little extreme, but the deal is that when you inhale, it's like dropping a pebble in a pond. It starts in the diaphragm, and there's ripples that go out from head to toe. If you look at an infant, when they breathe, unfettered, by shoulds and shouldn'ts and all of that, they will breathe in a way in which, as they inhale, they arch very subtly backwards. So your head will go back a little bit and your pelvis will go back. And then when they exhale, the head and the pelvis will go forward a little bit. So it's very easy. I mean, you can do this right now, just. Now, for the infant, there's absolutely no impedance or resistance for the breath to be a wave that goes up to the head and down to the toes, both on the inhale and exhale. However, when we have holding patterns in our body, don't do that, don't touch that, hurry up, then our muscle systems become permanently contracted in certain areas of our body. So, for example, you can tell as that wave of energy goes from the solar plexus up to the head. Oh, there's tightness in the jaw. Oh, there's holding in the shoulders. Oh, there's a tightness in the chest is frozen. Oh, all those things. And this is not big magic. I mean, it's just observation. Like if you pay attention to things long enough, it's like, oh, yeah, it's right there. And same thing with the lower body, traumas or anything now, it doesn't mean that you've had to have severe trauma or anything. Trauma, that word is buzzed around a lot in the world today. Biologically speaking, it just means that at some point, our nervous system was overwhelmed. It was just a little too much. And if there were a sonic boom, you remember those things with the airplanes going very loud, it rattles your house. We would do the same thing. It's wired into our nervous system. We'd have what's called the startle response. So you stop breathing. You start to look around and orient. Do I fight? Do I flee? What do I do? And then when safety is assured by your prefrontal cortex, then you start breathing again. But there's an automatic contraction when fear comes in. This can happen just for children, just going to a dental appointment or having a fender bender in a car. Or, so it doesn't mean you have to be a war victim or an assault victim or things like that. We all have these little holding patterns in our body. And the breaths can help liberate holding patterns that have gone into our unconscious, because we don't want to walk around all day thinking, world is a scary place. I have to be careful. Watch out for, it's like, no. And so we kind of like compensate. We naturally compensate and do very well, thank you. We get to be functioning adults and have a good time, but but still, there's something that is holding back from taking a full breath,
Hmm.
from feeling total aliveness.
So I've noticed, talking about sonic booms and things, we have the expression in our family, there's a sky kaboom happening, aka there's a thunderstorm. And my dog, she's little tiny thing, 5 pounder, is terrifying. And it's fascinating because I can see in her, when there is thunder, she goes right into that tense, on edge. Mom, I need to stick to you because this is really, really scary. But at
Absolutely.
the end of it, when once she's convinced, okay, it's okay, it's not happening anymore, she can shake it all off, literally. And she's back to being a relaxed dog. Now, as humans, we don't seem to have that capability. So we stack it and stack it and stack some more until we wind up with massive amounts of tension in our body, let's say. So, how can breath work, breathing consciously, help us to start unstacking all of that?
You could be teaching my class right now, Sarah. This is so, it's exactly right. Animals will literally shake it off. A bird that flies into a window, boom, trauma. Uh,
That's traumatic for the human. I had one fly into my window last week, literally right in front of me, and it scared the living daylights out of me.
yeah,
And
trauma.
it just flew off.
Well, it would shake first. That's what they do. They shake. They refrag or unfrag the nervous system. And we have the capacity, though, in our mind to keep us from looking silly. I don't want to be shaking now. No, I'm stiff upper lip. Move on. So we have that capacity to override the natural ways of releasing the holding patterns in our body. And as you say, they stack up. Now, so in a breathwork session, we first of all create safety. Okay, there has to be some degree of safety for a person to actually unstack a lot
Hmm.
of those things. Then we explore. And I make it very clear this is not something I'm doing to you, to a client. We're exploring together. So it's cooperative, it's a collaborative process. And they feel empowered by it because it's not like they got to go to the shrink and get fixed, or the car, whatever it is. They're working on it so that they are regrooving some new neural pathways that can take them into places of holding and be resourceful, because we then explore as to what it is that is going to work for them. Not the same technique works for everyone, but we explore. So there's safety, collaboration, exploration, and release, which often involves, on the psychological or emotional level, forgiveness.
Hmm.
Just forgive although it may sound counterintuitive or strange, I forgive myself for believing that mother is still scolding me, or that it's unsafe for me to walk outside without my boots on if it's raining. I'm going to catch a cold. I'm going to die. All these things that are implanted. Now, what happens in an overwhelm, a true overwhelm situation, is that the amygdala, which is our brainstem, senses danger. It goes to the thalamus, which decides whether this is like severe danger or we can handle this. If it's severe danger, it cuts off the pathways to the prefrontal cortex, where we Yeah, okay, the bus is coming down the street. It looks like it's going about 40 miles an hour. It's about 10 feet away from me. So it's going to impact. No, we don't do that. We cut off the prefrontal cortex. We're not logical and rational. We like, I can't fight the bus. Boom. I dive for the sidewalk. And so it's a survival technique where we cut off the prefrontal cortex when there's a sense of overwhelm. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a bus coming down the street. It could be a parent or an adult figure that's larger than the child who's threatening them, you know, maybe not even consciously. Maybe they just have an angry face and they're just annoyed at something that happened at work. But the child looks like, oh, I'm going to get it. What happens then to those memories when the prefrontal cortex is cut off is they go into the right brain. The right brain stores memories that become, quotes, implicit only memories. So say that I was spanked by a guy who had a mustache at the grocery store, and I was completely frozen. I didn't even tell mom about it, you know, because I was reaching for a candy bar and I shouldn't have, and he whacked me, you know. And, anyhow, whatever the story is, it's made an impression on me. But I don't remember that incident because it's too scary. And so it goes into implicit only memory. However, I don't like to be around men with mustaches. I don't know why. It's just ugly, I think. You know, I think it's very unbecoming. Who would want a mustache? Stay away from those people. It's like, I don't even know why, but I've got all these do's and don'ts in life, which come from experiences that have not been fully integrated.
Mm.
In the breathwork session, we go back, and here's where we might use a little sympathetic nervous system breathing, a little faster than normal breathing to, again, with safety, we open up the implicit only memories, and we don't have to remember every horrible thing in our life. All we have to do is know that we're safe. All we have to do is feel that we're safe, not know it intellectually, but we have to experience safety on a new level. So this is the, notice how you're breathing right now as I'm talking about this, Sarah. It's like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
you're okay, right. See? And so we're right there. We're like, okay, scary stuff. And so we learn then how to breathe, and we take that into our life. Then when situations that remind us, or even new situations come along, we are resourceful because we know that we have the techniques to remind ourselves of our own safety, to find that safety within us.
So you mentioned faster than normal breathing, and then there's slower than normal breathing.
Right.
So parasympathetic?
Parasympathetic is slower than normal breathing.
Okay.
And this is what you do in mindfulness, or you said inhale for 3, exhale for 6. That's the parasympathetic.
Where you're calming the system.
Calming the system, right. Sympathetic, like if we said, well, come on, Sarah, let's go out for a run. Let's jog around the block. You know, well, pretty soon we'd be oxygenating ourselves. We need a little more oxygen. So we're breathing faster. In a breathwork session where we coach people, now there's a very big difference between hyperventilating and superventilating. Hyperventilating is when I get really scared and I'm pushing out the exhale. What we do in a faster than normal breathing session is we teach how to relax on the exhale so that we can actually innervate the sympathetic nervous system without going into contraction. And then we can explore. then we can explore the right brain. Now, as you undoubtedly know, creativity and the artistic process is about the right brain. You have been doing and healing people from all sorts of things just by teaching that creative process and putting people in the right brain.
The stories when people get, I firmly believe it has to do with doing something with your hands.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing something with your hands and it involves a tactile experience. So my decades making quilts, fabric and thread, and you're actually physically creating something. The tactile thing I think is highly important. Drawing on on a Zentangle tile, let's say, you've got the pen and a piece of paper. And interestingly enough, Rick and Maria, who created Zentangle, looked at lots and lots and lots of different types of paper. So the feel of the paper, but literally getting your hands involved and creating something visible. I have had so many people telling me, we've had people recovering from cancer.
Yes.
We've had people recovering from brain trauma.
Right.
We've had people recovering from anxiety, you know, just
Right.
by
See,
getting the hands on. I think, and it also has an impact on your breathing because when you can get into that flow state, your breathing is changing automatically, right?
exactly, exactly. In fact, the term I use it is to embody. We take it from the brain, down the neck, out the arm, in, out the hands, and we externalize it. And that externalization is very important so that it's not stuck inside.
Mm-hmm.
And the breathing, and so there's many different roads up the mountain, as they say, coming back to wholeness. There is, visual, kinesthetic, auditory. They're all pathways that we have. And the more combinations of those you have with the Zentangle, it's visual, it's kinesthetic. Maybe you can even hear the pen on the paper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got all the elements there, right? And so in the breathwork session, when we do that, I will get people to embody at times when they really get stuck through movement, through pushing a pillow, through hitting on the bed, all of which they stay very conscious, but through kicking with their legs, through pushing with their feet. All of these bioenergetic techniques are also ways of moving energy through the body, getting a flow going, and feeling whole again,
Mm.
recovering aspects of their human expression which had been frozen. Maybe from the time that the second grade nun told them they couldn't sing, and so they should stand in the back and just mouth the music. It's like,
Teachers can tell you some terrible things, can't they?
well, we tend to pass on things. It's not like people are just evil looking to get. I mean, I couldn't believe I wanted to treat my children like I was treated. You know,
Mm.
fortunately, I married a woman who knew other ways of discipline, you know, and I learned it. Right. So we will tend to attract what we need. That's just my overall philosophy in life that the resources are there for us.